In the earlier module, we have seen the composition of forces using parallelogram law of forces. This module discusses generalized method of composition of forces utilizing resolution of forces. The process transforms forces having different orientations into a set of forces along two mutually perpendicular axes. Net forces in each direction is then combined to establish the final resultant. The process is explained in detail, and so keep watching till the end. Resolution of forces is opposite in sense to composition of forces. However, this will ease the composition process for complex force systems. The basic idea of method of resolution is splitting forces in any orientation into components along two mutually perpendicular axes. Let us redo the sample problem from the earlier module using method of resolution. Here, we are resolving each force into components along horizontal and vertical axes. For each force, we need to have the orientation angle with respect to these axes. The 9 Newton force is oriented at an angle of 20 degrees with respect to the horizontal axis. This can be resolved into 9 cos 20 along the horizontal axis and 9 sin 20 along the vertical axis. For clarity, consider the triangle with 9 Newton as hypotenuse, Fx as the horizontal component and Fy as the vertical component. From the triangle, Fx divided by 9 is cos 20. So Fx will be 9 cos 20. Similarly, here the angle considered is with respect to the horizontal axis, which is the usual practice in method of resolution. It is to be noted that the results remain the same if we are considering the angle with respect to the vertical axis. The horizontal component will be 9 sin 70, which is same as 9 cos 20, and the vertical component will be 9 cos 70, same as 9 sin 20. It is suggested to utilize the angle with respect to the horizontal axis throughout the problem to avoid confusion. So, we have resolved 9 Newton into components along horizontal and vertical directions. Similarly, 7 Newton can be resolved into 7 cos 60 along the horizontal axis and 7 sin 60 along the vertical axis. 10 Newton yield 10 cos 50 as the horizontal component and 10 sin 50 as the vertical component. Here, the angle considered is with respect to the negative direction of x-axis. The direction of the components need to be considered accordingly. So, this process of resolution transforms the forces in different orientation into a set of components along the horizontal and vertical axis. These collinear forces can be algebraically summed up to establish the net force in the vertical and horizontal directions. Let us call it as sigma Fx and sigma Fy. Sigma Fx will be 8.46 plus 3.5 minus 6.43. This yield sigma Fx as 5.53 Newton. And sigma Fy will be 3.08 plus 6.06 plus 7.66, which is equal to 16.80 Newton. These net forces in each direction can be combined using parallelogram law of forces to yield the final resultant. As the angle between them is 90 degrees, the two F1 F2 cos theta component will be 0 and the resultant will be the square root of sum of squares of the individual components. So the magnitude of the resultant will be square root of sigma Fx square plus sigma Fy square. While evaluating the orientation angle, cos 90 will be 0 and sin 90 will be 1. And the angle alpha will be arctan or tan inverse f2 divided by f1. So the orientation angle for the resultant will be tan inverse sigma fi divided by sigma fx. Now we have estimated the magnitude and direction of the resultant. For the concurrent forces, all the forces pass through a common point, and so is the case with the resultant. Hence, the resultant is completely defined. The results can be cross-verified with the graphical method as well. For non-concurrent forces, finding out the magnitude and direction alone is not sufficient to completely define the resultant. Details are covered in a separate video. Hope this content was helpful in getting a quick overview of the topic. If you have comments, feel free to share them in the comment box. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to stay updated on future episodes. Thanks for watching.